Hello, this is Melinda Blazer, and as part of A.T. Still University's Education 7500 course on technology and educational transformation, today we will be talking about instructor engagement in online education. This session will cover the importance of an instructor presence in online education, discuss components of instructor presence and ways to support these, as well as outline some innovative ways to develop one's own online instructor presence. Over the past 2 decades, online education in the United States has become increasingly more popular, and as Lady Shashetsky noted in 2013, research has shown that the educational experience for online training has been consistent with outcomes and sometimes even superior to outcomes from the face-to-face learning environment. Eon, Wen, and Ashel, 2006, noted that student satisfaction in online education is clearly linked to success of learning outcomes. Their research, identifying the most critical elements of student satisfaction in an online learning environment, found that outside of the student's learning style, that the timely and meaningful feedback from the instructor was the most critical element to support student satisfaction. This connects and supports the growing concept of instructor presence. Several studies, including Lady Shashetsky 2013, Joyner, Fuller, Holweitz, Henderson, and Young 2014, and Eon et al. 2006, have demonstrated that positive learning outcomes happen as a result of an instructor presence. Lady Shashetsky in 2013 also noted that the instructor presence is really the balance of social and cognitive support by the instructor for the student, helping the student to be engaged in the socially and emotionally, as well as create meaning from the content delivered in the course. Further, the article discusses how negative perceptions of students of the online presence of their instructor has been associated with increased disengagement as well as an overall perception of decreased academic quality. So Casey and Croft 2013 define presence as the way in which human beings interact with each other. And this can be challenging in the online environment where interactions between students and faculty and between peers are mediated through technology. The online teaching presence is influenced by the design of the course, how the instructor facilitates the course, as well as how the facilitator or the instructor directs the cognitive processes. This is noted in Joyner et al.'s article 2014. Casey and Croft 2013 investigated critical elements to teacher presence and perhaps not surprisingly identified that there's no one factor. Similar to what we see in the face-to-face environment, the online teacher presence is shaped by the individual instructor and how they interact with their environment. However, general themes from their research supported 4 categories to support instructor presence, including planning and organization, communication, support of collaborative work between peers, as well as support for self-directed work of the students, as well as support for learning relationships. These relationships may be peer-to-peer, instructor to student, or instructor to class. So how can faculty support student success? Joyner et al. Noted several ways in which the instructor presence can be enhanced to support student success in the online environment. This includes writing out and posting very clear instructions for students, outlining specific due dates, as well as the length of assessments and expectations for their quality. Providing examples of ways in which the curriculum may have been challenging for learners in the past and recommending some potential solutions may help online learners avoid pitfalls and ultimately promote their successful learning behaviors and decrease frustration. We talked about how communication is a really critical point, and Joyner notes that it's not only strong communication with learners, but also timely communication with response to their posts and through email communication, and they recommend no greater than 48 to 72 hours response time to students in an online environment. Joyner et al. Also notes that a critical component to the instructor presence and successful student engagement in the course includes that the instructor demonstrates respect for the students through the quality of the design of the course, ensuring that students are engaged on an ongoing and active basis and that the course continues to build and develop on concepts as well as have a direct application to the student real-world experience. Feedback is a considerable component of the instructor presence, and Joyner notes that it needs to be both formative and summative, as well as provide both supportive and constructive opportunities. Feedback should be given privately and not through a public forum. And students really value an opportunity for feedback to be specific. This lets the learner know that the instructor has in fact read their specific work and considered its strengths as well as areas for growth with the learner. As with all courses, an enhanced instructor presence is brought on by being enthusiastic and excited, not just about the course content, but about the educational setting and the online environment. It also is critical to make yourself available. Joyner recommends that instructors be available not just through email and through the discussion forums or other online modalities, but also that they make themselves available to students either via phone or through some other type of audiovisual medium, such as FaceTime or Skype. This is particularly important in the graduate community where students are starting to develop their professional identities, and they really value that feedback and opportunity to connect with their instructors in a way beyond what a typical higher educational setting may request or desire. So we're going to focus on how we can be innovative in our approaches to promoting this success and this instructor presence in the online setting. So, excuse me, it's critical to be organized with starting at the beginning with a thoughtfully designed course that really promotes that ongoing student engagement in the course, as well as the ability to continue to construct ideas. And that this is really clearly outlined through expectations both at the initiation of the course and on an ongoing basis through weekly announcements or other types of information. The LMS or learning management system can really support educators in this approach and can do so by reaching students with a variety of learning styles. So this can be done through either written material or through a visual table or calendar situation or through multiple modalities to try and sort of meet students where they're at and support them as best as possible. As I mentioned previously, anticipating potential challenges and giving students recommendations or advice can help decrease their anxiety and frustration with the process and really allow them to focus on maximizing their learning experiences. This again will contribute to their perceived satisfaction and ultimately allow them to spend more of their time and their attention engaging in the material constructively. Building community. I think this is really the central core of the social construct of the instructor presence, and I think showing your human side. So letting your students know kind of who you are, a little bit about what your interests are, why you're excited and enthusiastic about the course, why it's a particular academic interest of yours, and maybe a little bit about what you like to do outside of work so that they get to know you a little bit. I think that comes through more inherently in face-to-face interactions, so it has to be very intentional in how we develop it in an online training environment. Utilizing technology to enhance this opportunity is really critical, and this can be done through a variety of settings, including a variety of modalities rather, including video recording of yourself. Instructors could encourage students to do the same or to post pictures. Some instructors may consider hosting a synchronous session where everyone sort of collectively taps in through a WebEx or through a Zoom meeting so that everyone can actually see each other, their faces, hear their voices, and have an opportunity to get a sense of what that learning environment looks like in a way that's slightly more tangible than through typing on a computer and reading. I think instructors also really need to model professional and engaging dialogue, and that this will then enhance that opportunity for students. And it's this really opportunity for students to engage in a meaningful way, peer-to-peer, but also instructor-to-peer, that again helps to solidify that concept of community. And it's this that I think really promotes the ultimate ability for students to learn in an effective manner. And finally, be a coach. So providing thoughtful and specific feedback to learners. We talked about having that be both formative and summative. Joyner really talks about how graduate students in particular crave this feedback as they begin to develop this concept of personal and professional identity and what that looks like. And Ian talks about how specific feedback to learners can really help improve their self-awareness and metacognitive skills, which we really strive to foster in our learners. I think having an opportunity to connect with students outside of sort of the structured educational setting, and not just providing them with feedback on individual assignments, but having to, a sit down either through FaceTime or through Skype or through a Zoom meeting or WebEx to let students individually know sort of where, as an instructor, you feel like overall their strengths are and areas for growth could really be a powerful way to sort of build that connection, that instructor presence, and to continue to promote their ongoing self-motivation. Being available and making students know that sort of outside of those expected check-ins or those expected opportunities for feedback, that you are interested in what they have to say and interested in their questions and want them to be successful also goes a really long way at making students feel like you're invested in their overall learning experience. There's a lot of really wonderful references. These are some of the articles that shaped my thoughts on this perspective. And this is a topic that I found really interesting and I would love to continue the conversation on. So please feel free to email me with any questions. We can find a time to connect through one of those digital media platforms or through email communication. Thank you.